Hi Ray, so you were this morning presenting at the Hotel Website Marketing Conference in London at the Hilton, Kensington. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good, thanks, pretty good.
So you present today Availpro, which is one of the leading CRS, PMS technology company for hotels. Can you give us a little bit about background about this company?
Yeah, the core proposition that Availpro offers to hotels is to enable them to put their rooms and their rates onto multiple OTAs, just using one interface. But the differentiation point for Availpro is the technology that sits behind that.
So it's a channel manager tool.
It's I call it a smart channel manager.
Smart channel management.
With the first generation channel managers I explained this morning, they tend to be one way. So a hotel has to divide its inventory between the different sites, and it's a one-way push, often just using screen scraping technology. Availpro only uses two-way real-time XML connections, so we can offer a central inventory, which means that even if the hotel's only got 2 rooms left, we can put those 2 rooms on 20 different websites simultaneously and only ever sell them once.
So how many hotels use your system?
On a daily basis, we've got in excess of 2,500 hotels using Availpro.
Right, and connecting to how many OTAs?
150, I believe, at the latest count.
Oh, wow. And how do you update those OTAs? Because they might change, the extranet and so on. Maybe a difficult task.
For a UK hotel, probably it's typical for a hotel to use maybe between 5 and 10 different channels.
Right.
Once you go beyond 10, you're probably going into different geographical markets. So for most hotels, it's probably a case of doing 10, but within Availpro, they only need to maintain one extranet, and we just do all the connections into those sites for them. So for a hotel, it's just very easy. It's like working with one OTA, but we're distributing to all of the sites they want to.
So on your presentation, you were talking about some tips about how you can be higher on the OTA's website, in the destination like London, for instance. What are those tips? How can you be on the first page?
Well, I don't think there's any sort of great black and white answer to that question, but there's a number of theories and beliefs that we've come to understand over the years of working with the OTAs. And some of those things, for example, is how the availability, the number of rooms that a hotel will give an OTA can influence it, if they give them plenty of availability. The consistency and the competitiveness of the rates. Sometimes they'll take into account how much that is discounted off their rack rate. How often they update that particular website. So there's a number of factors, but of course each one is very different, and a little bit like Google. None of them publish their algorithm. We just try to understand it as we work with these partners.
Great. And what have you learned, in the last 10 years regarding how consumers using browsers? Because, the industry of CRSs and PMSs, I guess, has evolved in the last 10 years. It's probably faster and maybe more user-friendly. But also you have a lot of new browsers in place like Chrome and what else we have now? Firefox is still quite huge. Explorer is having a decreased usage. Did you have to adapt your technology to those new browsers?
I don't get involved on the sort of hands-on coding originally, but my understanding is that when you develop an application, develop a suite like this, as we have done, obviously you have to take all of those into account. As you say quite rightly, Explorer and Firefox are probably still by far the 2 largest ones that are out there. But it's not something I personally worry about. I'm sure our technical team considers that every time they make a change. So
your multi-browser compatibility is perfectly fine right now?
Yes.
Okay. And in terms of the conversion, that's always been this big debate about how you measure conversion, hotel booking conversion. We're debating about 2%, 4% on average. What is the overall impression? Is it going to get better? Because it sounds to me like in the last 10 years we haven't really progressed.
I think conversion is always an interesting one to talk about, because first of all, how do people measure conversion? And when people say to me, our booking engine converts at 5% or my website converts at 7%, my question is always, well, how do you measure that? Because is it the number of people that come to the website that book? Is it the number of people that come to the website and start a search that book? Is it the number of people that come to the website, start a search and get results with availability that book? There's so many different ways. So I think people to talk numbers is very difficult. If you look at the bigger picture, I think maybe where your question is leading here, though, there are more people searching more sites. I think that has been quite
20.
Clearly
20 on average.
20, I read that recently as well. And on that basis, conversion is going to continue to fall.
Yeah.
I think the issue for hotels, as I mentioned earlier on today, one of the things that can reduce the number of sites that are searched across is if a hotel starts to have the same rate and availability on every website. A consumer then, I believe, from a user perspective, if they search website 1 and it's £99, and they search website 2 and it's £99, and they search website 3 and it's £99, they probably aren't going to go further than website 4.
Yeah.
If it's 99, 103, 75, 98, then how far do they go? And I think this is why people keep searching. They're always looking for the best deal. So I think rate parity across different websites will probably reduce that and see conversion rates improve. But that'd be interesting to see what happens.
So another point you made was that when you work with OTAs, it has an effect of increasing direct booking as well, because consumers on the web wants to research what you offer directly. Now, we have this problem that has been recurring over the years, is that the same players, the same OTAs, not all, but some, are also bidding on hotel brands. What is your opinion on that? Do you think it's fair? Do you think it's fair that OTAs buy those keywords?
I think it's an interesting one, and it's certainly a challenging one for hotels. Because a hotel, if I'm a revenue manager, obviously I want to increase the amount of bookings that come direct to me. If I'm going to optimize my site and employ a decent SEO company, I want my hotel to be number 1 on the natural listings. If I'm going to spend on a PPC campaign, I certainly wouldn't like to see my competitors or the OTAs competing on my brand term. But I think hotels have to be a little bit smarter and think properly about this, because as I understand it, some of these OTAs even have it in their contract for distribution that they are allowed to bid on those terms. So I think a hotel needs to be a lot more savvy and understand what they're doing, what they're letting themselves in for. If they work with distributor A and that's their terms, they have to understand, well, this is the implications of it. And maybe they then take the decision, it's okay. But it certainly is a way of diluting, or they will certainly dilute their direct bookings by going down that road. But that's the price they will pay. On the other hand, if you're present on these websites, it's like a free advert. Because for every booking on Expedia, maybe 2 bookings come on your own website.
That's right, it's like a placement.
So it's a price you pay.
Well, thank you, Ray, for your input. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Gil.